The phone rang just as I was scanning spreadsheets, the office humming around me. My wife's name flashed across the screen, unusual for a weekday call. I answered. "I just inherited millions," she said, voice clipped businesslike. "Pack your things. Get out of my house." I froze, feeling nothing and everything at once. Shock, maybe. But more than that, an odd, almost clinical curiosity. She continued, "When you come home, the divorce papers will be ready." I didn't respond. I hung up, returning to the numbers in front of me. Everything on the screen seemed suddenly small, irrelevant. Driving home, fragments of memory flickered unbidden: the dinner last spring when she barely touched her plate, the evenings we sat together, but didn't speak, the subtle tensions that had accumulated, layer by layer, until the air was taut. I hadn't allowed myself to admit how far we'd drifted. The front door opened to a house that felt both familiar and alien. She stood by the dining table, divorce papers in hand, expression neutral. No tears, no raised voices, no pleas, just procedure. I studied her silently. She looked accomplished, triumphant even, though the weight behind her calm was thinly veiled. I felt my own pulse slow, not from fear or anger, but from awareness. This was a moment of clarity, an inflection point where the past and future met in quiet lines of paper. I took the documents from her without a word. The paper rustled softly. Signing felt almost ceremonial. I didn't need to argue, to beg, or to shame. That power, the authority to remain composed, to measure my own response, was mine and mine alone. Her eyes flickered, just for a second, as if she expected a reaction that never came. I smiled faintly, almost imperceptibly. Good luck, I thought, but said nothing aloud. My calmness was enough. She left. The sound of her footsteps fading down the hall became the punctuation mark I had been waiting for. The space around me shifted subtly. Her absence was tangible, a quiet redistribution of control. The house felt larger, emptier, freer. I wandered through rooms, noting things I'd taken for granted: the morning light spilling over the kitchen counter, the quiet hum of the refrigerator, the faint scent of her perfume lingering in a corner. A part of me mourned the loss of what we had, the shared histories and routines, but that grief was tempered by relief. I could breathe here. I could think. I reflected on the inheritance. Millions. An unexpected fortune. But more striking than the money was the autonomy it offered. It was a backdrop, a quiet affirmation, rather than a catalyst for spectacle. I didn't need it to feel complete. I needed it only as confirmation that I could define my own terms moving forward. I made coffee and sat by the window, watching the city stir. Traffic moved, people talked on their phones, life continued without fanfare. And so would I, slowly, deliberately, reclaiming routines, reclaiming choices. Each small act of autonomy, from making breakfast to deciding what to wear, felt profound. The house no longer felt like hers, nor fully like mine, but a shared memory that I now navigated alone. There was a strange comfort in that solitude, a quiet victory that didn't require celebration, only recognition. I had emerged on the other side without surrendering my dignity, without trading patience for vengeance. Later, I opened the bank statement, checked accounts, and allowed myself a small, private acknowledgement of the inheritance. Money didn't erase the past, didn't compensate for lost time, but it did offer options: flexibility, security, a platform to rebuild. I did not let it define me. I thought of her briefly, imagining her plans, her celebrations, her sudden elevation, and I felt neither envy nor malice, only detachment. The past was settled, the present was mine. Night fell, and the house darkened around me. I moved slowly, deliberately, savoring the absence of conflict. No one had demanded, no one had judged. The authority had intervened in the form of circumstance, but the lasting control, the quiet, undeniable power, remained with me. In that silence, I recognized the subtle transformation. Betrayal had come, liberation had quietly followed. Not in spectacle, not in dramatic displays, but in measured awareness, restraint, and the calm assertion of self. The story of that day would linger, but not like a wound. It would echo as a reminder: control is sometimes silent, power is sometimes stillness, and freedom can arrive in the quietest moments. I sat with my thoughts, letting them expand, contract, and settle. Tomorrow, the work of living fully, intentionally, would continue. Tonight, I simply existed, unhurried, unpressured, and quietly victorious.